What a book, man. What a book. This is the only non-spoiler thing that I will say throughout this whole video because I changed my mind. I want to talk about what happened because of all the feels. If you're thinking about reading this book, The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, just do it. Don't read the reviews, don't get any spoilers, just go into this book blind, without any expectations. Thank me later. I finished this book last night at 3 a.m. I couldn't put it down, just too good to stop. I don't know where to start. There's so many feelings and thoughts and emotions. But one thing I know for sure is that this book has moved me and has reminded me of some important things and changed my perspective in a way, which is a brilliant thing really, because what else to expect from a book if not some emotional catharsis, so emotional cleansing. And I feel like this is exactly what this book did for me. I was procrastinating finishing reading it and procrastinating finishing this video because there are some things that this book triggered in me that made me feel very vulnerable and unsure if I want to talk about it. But one of the reasons why I wanted to film book reviews, especially of books that mean something to me and make me feel something, is because I want to be able to come back to these reviews and thoughts and emotions later on, because you know how it is. You read a book, you feel a lot of cool things or scary, big, weird things, and then you give it a review on Goodreads with maybe a few sentences written here and there, but then a few months down the line you just completely forget about how the book made you feel, what were the most important takeaways or lessons or thoughts that you had after reading the book. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to record this, because I knew that this book is gonna make me feel things, and I want to be able to come back to it whenever I feel like I need a little reminder of the message that this book serves us. So let's just get it over with. The first thing that I felt while reading this book, and that was the first 20 or so pages. Spoilers ahead, by the way, so if you don't want any spoilers, better that you stop watching this video right now, go read the book and then come back to it. So, for the first 20 pages, this book has absolutely destroyed me and triggered things in me that I haven't felt in a while, or maybe that were lingering there in the back of my mind, dormant, until this book has awoken them. If you're familiar with the premise, the main character of the book, Nora Seed, is in a quite situation according to her. She's not feeling very good and she's in a depressive state, and at the beginning of the book, within the first 20 pages, she's decided that she's done, she's had enough, and she just wants out with it, and she tries to commit suicide. When I first read these first 20 pages, it was like at 11 or midnight, like basically right before going to sleep. I read the first 20 pages and I was like, oh no. I'm scared of what this book is going to make me feel and how it's going to make me feel throughout it, because I didn't expect such an emotional punch right at the beginning within the first 20 pages, talking about, you know, and all the sad, bad things that happened to her, that you have to really like one thing after another, and being as empathetic as I am and having my share of sad thoughts sometimes, this made me feel really down and made me seriously consider not continuing with reading the book at all. After reading these first 20 pages, I had honestly a couple very rough days with my mental health. I feel like it kind of destroyed me and opened up the boxes in my mind that were stored and locked away very tightly for a very long time, and this is why it made me feel so much. After a few days, after my little episode was over and I felt a little better, I decided to continue with the book anyway because I felt that it has potential. It punched me right in the center within the first 20 pages, so I was curious what else can it deliver, and I was hoping that the main character Nora, after feeling so shitty and going through what she went through, and after making the decision that she did make, I was hoping that it's gonna even out and her situation is gonna get better. So that's another reason why I wanted to continue reading. Anyway, I'm glad that I did, because I finished the book last night, and I must say I think it will be one of my favorites. One of my favorite books, one of my favorite messages, one of my favorite reminders about certain values and thoughts and paradigms about life that I hold dear already. So I'm glad that I continued reading it. I'm glad that I finished it. Now that I got all that heavy stuff aside, I also want to say that, yes, at the beginning it made me feel very down, it made me feel very strongly, but then by the end of the book, I felt like a new person. I felt like I came back to my old core values that I used to hold very strongly, that then I forgot somewhere along the way. And it made me feel emotionally cleansed, let's say, like the purpose of catharsis is. So there's not just bad stuff that this book will make you feel. If you withstand the deep, dark emotions, if you get through to the end, you will find satisfaction and fulfillment and beautiful things there, really, if you survive until the end. So this is what it made me feel at the end. It made me feel good. Now I have a few notes that I want to mention in this video today, because I was thinking about what to say exactly, and there's a few comments that I have, a few observations about things that I liked from the book. Some are from the writer perspective, because being a writer I often do analyze books to see how they're built and structured, and if there's anything I can learn from them to borrow into my own writing. But I also analyzed it from a reader perspective and from a human perspective, considering what it made me feel, what it made me think. And I have a few little points here and there that I want to talk about. So what I was thinking about last night when I was reading the last chapters, last 100 pages, let's say, is when Nora was exploring all these cool lives and she was in search of perfect life to find the one that she really wants to stay in. I felt kind of second-hand imposterness on her behalf, because I don't know, I guess the empath that I am, I was thinking, what would happen if she, this imposter Nora that keeps jumping between lives, or how are they calling, sliders, whatever, this fake Nora, or the Nora that we are following, the main character Nora who keeps jumping between the lives of different Noras, if she took over one of these lives, what would happen to the original live Nora that was there in that life originally? What would happen to her? Would she just disappear into the abyss? Would she just stop existing? And that made me feel kind of sorry for the original character that was in that original life, that Nora that we are following was just testing out. But luckily by the end it got resolved and Nora came to the same conclusion, so I'm kind of glad that I predicted that / what I was hoping for came true, because it felt very satisfying. And that's a point both from a writer's perspective and reader's perspective, that I was hoping that by the end Nora would decide that she wants to come back to her root life and make the most out of it back there, instead of just kind of taking something that she hasn't earned and take it from someone else, really, that is not her in a sense. And I'm glad that this is where the book went and this is where it's concluded. So this is one of the things that made me feel satisfied after reading it, because that's what I was expecting. This is what happened, and that's a very big plus for me. When I was mentioning my values before, and when I said that I'm happy that this book touched on some core values that I hold about life and just being a human, I'm really glad that this is some of these values that I hold dear were explored in the book. One of them being the no regrets approach. Insert the no regrets meme. Anybody remember that? I don't remember where or when I picked this belief up. At some point in my life, something triggered me to believe that I shouldn't regret anything in my life, because everything I've been through, or everything I decided pro or against, has led me to where I am right now. And if any little thing changed or I made different decisions or went down different paths, I wouldn't be here where I am today. And this is what leads me to believe that there should be no regrets, because as this book really says as well, you don't really know what can happen with all these little regrets that you have, even if you might think that, you know, the grass is greener on the other side. And if you chose to be a singer at 11 years old, or if you decided to go into Olympics like your parents wanted you to, you don't know what your life would look like then. And maybe it seems like it would be beautiful and nice and everything that you could dream of, but maybe it would also have lots of downsides and downfalls that you can't predict right now in this moment. So this is something that I very strongly believe in. So the life of no regrets, just enjoying where you are and understanding that everything you've been through and the whole path, all the challenges, all the ups and downs you've been through led you to this moment right now and created who you are right now. I'm also happy that this book touched on that. So that's a very big plus point for me. Another one. The reason why I mentioned this value, this core value, that I'm happy that the book talked about it, is because this no regrets approach to life was something that, as I said, was a core thing for me for a long time. But then in the recent months and years where there was a lot of stress in my life and lots of things happened, I kind of lost that approach or that perspective along the way, and I started doubting myself or thinking, you know, wishing I could have done things differently, or wishing that I would have done this years ago, or would have started this, or you know, whatever. Speaking about real life examples, just to not say this and that all the time, sometimes I wish that I started writing books much earlier on, or that I started making videos much earlier on, or that I went into singing like I wanted as a kid. But again, these are similar regrets that Nora had in the book, and it's really cool that they were explored, because many of them were aligned with my own dreams and goals and values, or my own regrets that I sometimes have, that I don't want to have, but I admit that I do have. And it was really cool to see how something that she imagined might be beautiful and something I imagined might be beautiful or better. I wish I had done that, like writing books before, or starting videos before, or going and becoming a singer way before in my life. I have no idea where would I be right now if maybe that perspective wouldn't be like a million times worse, or maybe it would be a million times better, but there's no way to predict that, and no way to really find if it would be a good path. So this is where the no regrets approach comes in again, and I'm really glad of that reminder in that book. So if you share that value with me, then you'll be glad. Oh, you have read the book already, so you probably were glad that this message was there, because for me it was profound, for me it was very important. Now, the biggest message, and I think maybe the most important message for me from this book, was that the conclusion told you or taught you to create the life that you want fearlessly. And I really love that this is where the book and this is where the book went, and this is where the narrative ended. Hi, this is Agnes from the future. I'm currently editing this video, and I wanted to insert a quick intermission here just to say that I'm so glad that I recorded this video, because it's already a month later now that I'm editing it after finishing the book and after recording that video with my thoughts. And I'm so glad that I did, because as I said, it's been a month and I already forgot majority of the things that I thought, like this one that I just mentioned, to have the courage to create the life you love bravely and go after your dreams and all of that. And I'm really glad that I recorded that I can rewatch it now and feel these things again, because it's a very nice reminder. So if you ever thought of recording book review videos so that you can get back to them and remind yourself all the cool thoughts that you had, all the cool emotions you felt, or the stages and states you went through, this is your sign to do that, so that your future self would thank you, like I thank myself right now. Alright, back to the video. I grabbed my mouse because I wanted to stop recording on the phone with the mouse. Tetris effect, man. I think that some people might see it as a bit cringy, like, you know, create the life that you want fearlessly and just do whatever you want and, you know, go for your dreams without fear and all that kind of stuff. I know it can sound cringy, but it's really a core message that each of us needs to hear every now and then, as a nice reminder of, that life really is a game. It's not that serious. It's supposed to be fun. We are only here for a short amount of time. We are only here to, do some few things here and there, and then basically that's it. So why not make it fun? Why not enjoy every second of it? And that was a nice conclusion to the whole story, and I'm glad to see that the main character kind of concluded that. I keep repeating myself, but you know what I mean. Create the life that you want fearlessly, which is also aligned with my other value that I treasure greatly, which is that life is a game. Treat it as a game in a way that you create the rules, you say what's right and what isn't, you decide the path and the destination. That's something very important for me, and I hope that you share that kind of value, and that's why you're watching this video too, because it's a cool value to have, and it makes life much more enjoyable. The reason why I'm saying all of this is because often me and everyone else, and you probably too, we as humans tend to get stuck in the no possibilities limbo, where really it's all a matter of perspective, how we see our situation and how we see what possibilities we have. And this was one of the lessons that Nora learned by the end of the book as well, which is that it's not the place that you're stuck in, it's the perspective that you're stuck in. Not the environment, not the place, not the people, but the perspective and how you perceive the world. And I think that's a very beautiful, wholesome reminder of how we should be perceiving life, really, because everything is a matter of perspective if you think about it. This is another thing that I really liked from kind of both the nerd writer perspective and the reader perspective, how there was such a big contrast between the opening image and the closing image, right? So the opening image was Nora with Mrs. Elm, right? I don't remember actually. Yeah, the opening image is Nora playing chess with Mrs. Elm in the library at 16 years old, where she finds out that her whole life is crumbling apart because of the death of her parents and all the other things that are stressing her out. And then by the end of the book, Nora is playing chess with Mrs. Elm again, but the tables have kind of flipped. At the beginning, in the first scene, Mrs. Elm was the one who was supporting Nora and giving her some positive messages and positive outlooks and positive push, right? Positive sparks to kind of support her and push her in the right direction. And by the end of the book, in the last chapter, where Nora was playing chess with Mrs. Elm in some care facility, the tables have flipped in a way that it was Mrs. Elm who had regrets now and wasn't feeling too good about herself, and Nora fulfilled the role of, life is beautiful, everything's okay, everything is gonna be okay, and it's all a matter of perspective. And that was a very nice way to portray it. I really like that from the writer's perspective and from the reader's perspective to see that Nora has learned her lesson and that she's gained a new outlook on life, not only from I don't want to be here anymore to I want to be alive, but more than that, she discovered a new drive and desire to experience life and build whatever life she wants. And what I really loved as well is how they talked about balance of the good and bad. This is what maybe was one of the biggest lessons for Nora by the end, right? That she knew and she accepted and expected that life will serve her a full course, right? Full menu of the good and the bad, of positive and negative, or sad and happy. And it was beautiful to see that by the end she accepted that. And this is also something that I'm trying to cultivate in my life, to know that there are ups and downs, and the path to growth is not linear. It's already really up and down until we slowly climb up there wherever we want to get to. So I'm glad that this is another conclusion that we got, that in order to understand life or to fully experience life, we need to live it, and we need to live through the good and the bad and the happy and sad, and just take it as it is. Remember that it's all a matter of perspective, not the place that we're in, and therefore take the responsibility for our situation in a way that, yeah, maybe things are bad, but it's all part of the process. Even when things get bad, it's still a part of the process, and it's a matter of perspective again to determine how we look at our situation and how we feel about our situation and what we make of it. Because no matter where you are and what's happening to you right now, you could focus on all the negatives and see that there's no way out and want a way out, if you know what I mean, because everything feels just too overwhelming and too much struggle, too much stress, too much sadness. But on the other hand, you can also approach the situation from a much more positive perspective, see the life in all its colors, and remember that everything is just a phase, right? Even all these bad things are not eternal and they are not permanent. Everything will come to an end. Both the good and the bad, everything will come to an end. The only permanent thing, as I've learned from my reading recently, is death. There's nothing more permanent than that. But when it comes to all these bad and negative situations, like realistically, both you and I have been through many of them, and I know that, which means that we can get through many more. There's one quote that I came across recently that really fits right here. You've survived 100% of your worst days and you're still here right now, which means that you can keep going and you can survive whatever else comes your way. Overall, to conclude this video and this book review, I feel like this book is a beautiful reminder of why life is worth living and how the only limit to what we can achieve is our imagination and our perspective, our perception. I loved how the book covered the broad spectrum of Nora's journey, from not wanting to be here anymore to desperately clinging to life, willing to do anything possible to stay alive. So I did go through a whole roller coaster of emotions, the whole spectrum, really, the full spectrum of emotions. And I must admit that this book has changed me, has changed my perspective and reminded me of some very important things I have kind of forgotten about or have shoved into the back of my mind, into the back seat, not listening to the important stuff. I did feel very depressed and down and lost at the beginning because what Nora went through amplified how I was feeling, which for a moment was a tough ride. But as I went on the journey with this book, I found myself loving life and craving to discover all the beautiful little things that I can experience and create. I found myself loving how it's all basically down to my imagination. And that's, I think, where I'm gonna leave it. That's the main conclusion of the book. 5 out of 5. Definitely a recommendation, definitely a staple on my bookshelf. I'm gonna try to get my boyfriend to read it right now because I want him to see the life through my eyes, as this book I think would help him understand. By the way, okay, this is important stuff. I love when a book makes me feel things and makes me just emotionally destroyed and then puts me back into feeling whole again. And this is how I feel what this book did for me. So, question to you, dear viewer, if you have recommendations of any other books like this that have destroyed you in a way, but not too much, because, you know, sometimes mental state can be fragile, but if you know any other books like this one that end on a very beautiful, fulfilling, wholesome note, please give me some recommendations in the comments. Or if you can think of anything else and you just want to share your thoughts about the book, I would love to read your opinions in the comments and in the community chat so we can connect over this awesome book and maybe find other things that, I don't know, I might have missed, and other lessons that you have learned that I haven't. I hope that my review has either reminded you of something great or brought you some value to you know, on top of whatever this book already brings. And I'm curious to hear your opinions on it. So remember to like and subscribe, comment what you thought about the book so we can keep up the conversation, and I'll see you in the next future videos where we will talk about books and life and mindset and love and self-fulfillment and happiness and all of that good stuff, because that's life and that's what we do right here. I hope you're gonna have a great day. Remember that it's all a matter of perspective, and anything you want to achieve in your life, it's basically down to your imagination. Sending you all the love and positivity. I hope that this video made you feel something good, and that's it. Whatever, I'm gonna stop talking now. Take care. Bye bye.